If there's one thing Christmas can do for all of us, it's throw us into many states of anxiety, stress, depression, but it doesn't do it on its own. I think sometimes we need to look wider than just Christmas. We need to take a step back, because Christmas happens at the darkest time of the year. And by that I mean that we have the least amount of daylight. So that contributes to a lower level, say, of vitamin D in our system. It's also less natural daytime in our lives, and naturally we are made to actually rest at this time of year. We're made to go inside, to sleep more, to eat warmer foods. And if that's what you're finding yourself doing, then you're naturally doing what you should be doing right now, what your body needs right now. Most of us don't, because we have lights in our houses and we have cars and we have lovely big woolly warm coats and parties and neighbours and events, and we like to avoid ourselves quite often, because maybe we don't like what we hear, we don't like what we see, we don't like, sitting with ourselves, we don't like being with ourselves, we don't like who we are, and so we avoid, and we stay active and out there at a time when we should be in here, just sitting with ourselves, sitting with our family. And this year, probably for the first time in a long time, we're nearly being forced to sit with our families, whether we like it or not. And that could be bringing up all sorts of other stresses within us. Sugar is one of the biggest stressors to our system, and it comes in all shapes and sizes. And if we think lack of daylight can affect our body, boy, it's nothing to what an influx of sugar can do. Fungus feeds on sugar. And sugar literally blocks up our cells. It will turn them acidic, and then oxygen, we find it very difficult to regulate oxygen within our bodies. Sugar literally is what cancer cells will feed on. So it's in our best interests to cut out processed sugar, and that's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about processed sugar. An overdoing it, shall we say, an over intake of processed sugar will then mess up our system so much that we won't even be able to tolerate ordinary sugar. That we get natural sugar is what I mean by ordinary sugar, that we get in fruit and vegetables. And that's the sugar we need. That's the sugar we were built to deal with. If you live in Ireland, you live in a very damp country. And right now, winter time is the dampest time. And it's the time when fungi will grow. You'll see the mushrooms popping up all over the place. That's an indication that it's a damp area. That's where fungus growing. But if that's going on inside of us, if we're too damp inside, and that's what sugar can do, and taking cold foods can do in winter time, and we literally breathing in the damp air in winter time, another reason why we should be inside. And if so, look at all of those areas that can cause that dampness, and sugar grows in that dampness, and fungi grows. We're feeding a fungus within ourselves if we're taking too much sugar in. So if you add too much sugar to darkness, to being too active when we should be quieter within ourselves, or resting at this time of year, charging our batteries, for another way of putting it. Think of all of those things now affecting, and also then we stay up later, we're watching movies, possibly watching scary movies, which will raise up anxiety levels within us as well. So if you add all of those things together, sort of take that 360-degree look at it all, you can see why people get overstressed, become over anxious, and start to get depressed straight after Christmas. They're oversugared, they're tired, the fungus is sort of maybe more active in their system than what it was. It's loving the sugar. And so our immune system gets depleted. There are 2 times of the year that I always say, from a teaching perspective, having taught in schools, where you see infections grow in schools, where you see children start to get sick. The first one is after Halloween. The second one is after Christmas. Children literally come back sick nearly after Christmas because oversugared. Fungus is higher in the air. Children are tired because they haven't been getting enough sleep. Their immune system is down and they get sick. Their diet has gone crazy with chocolate, and don't forget the amount of dairy in that chocolate as well. Sweet stuff. All of the sweet stuff that they eat over Christmas and Halloween. There are 2 times that we really binge it on sugar. And for adults, it's sweet stuff, and it could be alcohol as well. So look at all of those things that are going on at those 2 holiday times. Overdoing it on sugar, and it's getting darker. So lack of our own nutritional supports within us because we're not quieting down. We're using all up our reserve instead of building it up for the rest of the active year. And so we're running on low. And we're more susceptible then to picking things up. Especially, we can't fight off things like viruses. So my advice to you is to actually rest this Christmas. Not to overdo it on the sugar. Do your kids need that much sugar? Do you need that much processed sugar? Sweets, candy, chocolate, and other related processed foods. Do you need that much of them? Make wholesome stews. You know, if you're getting outside, get out in the brightest part of the day and then come in. Don't spend so much time in front of the TV. Play family games. You know, relax, quiet music. Chill it down. And if you are going to be eating sugar, take some supplementation then to cope with it. You need vitamin D. You absolutely need vitamin D this time of year. There's no buts about that. It's dark, you need vitamin D. If you live in Australia, you're okay. Well, maybe you're not. Depends on your system. Magnesium, really good for helping you to cope with the sugar. But as soon as you take that piece of processed sugar, that magnesium goes away from everything that it's needed for, and it's needed for over 600 processes in your body. So away it goes, and it's off to help you regulate the sugar. Chromium, really good for curbing that sugar craving. Water. 2 litres of water a day. This time of year, slightly more room temperature than cold. Because again, cold will just get the fungus going. More water we have, the less we'll crave sugar. So I'm inviting you to try and get off the sugar this year. Because it does feed the stress levels in our system, and then that triggers anxiety. Having been there, I know what anxiety can do to you. I know what anxiety can do to you. I know what it did to me. And I also know that this time of year, I need to stay off sugar because I don't want to trigger stress in my system. I don't want to get overstressed. There's enough going on. It's the time of year that we tend to miss loved ones when they've passed. It's the time of year that we tend to take stock of our lives and be harder on ourselves rather than saying, well done, you got through the year, well done, and counting your successes and celebrating those successes. Lessons, yes, we learn from those, but it's the time of year to boost yourself up, count your successes, be successful. Tapping worked for me to help me retune my non-trigger panic attacks. And I really recommend that you get some sessions. If you're somebody who's overstressed and over anxious, try tapping. I use tapping with other things. I'll give you some advice on wellness. I'll give you advice on your diet. I'll give you advice on other things. I help you take a 360-degree look at your life and then tap on that and retune any stress thoughts that are in there that are causing you to crave sugar. Remember, we normally crave a food to meet an emotional need rather than meeting that need for ourselves. But that's a whole other story for a whole other day. So my advice, and try really hard guys, cut the sugar. Cut it right down. Take a little bit but not a lot. And get some nutrition to help you regulate whatever sugar you do take. Put the magnesium in there. Get the vitamin C and zinc, of course, and the vitamin D. Get them all in there. And you can get all of those for your children as well. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.